larger-than-life aura of SRK that we've grown up with, that we've looked up to as our star, that we couldn't reach out. Nobody knew Rishabh Shetty before Kantara, but now everybody knows who he is. Wherever I'm walking and I hear somebody say, Bobby, I turn around and I know it's a Mallu standing and smiling at me and says, Sugam ano? And they go, Sugam, 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 Sugam. The superstar was something out of your reach. You realize that 99.9% of the things that you worried about back then were just not worth worrying about. You have to constantly look to being a disruptor, right? ये कुर्सी तुम्हारे बाप की नहीं है, you know.
Yes.
Okay. Peacing.
For all film-related interviews, reviews, and content, please like and subscribe to Pooja Talwar. You can also follow me on Twitter and on Instagram. Good to see you. I want to ask you.
Always a pleasure.
You have been, synonymous as the man who's on the other side of the law, the OG gangster. How does it feel now to be on the right side of the law?
I think it's been fun. It's been a whole journey because, like you said, I started on the other side, challenging the cops, and now I'm playing one. But what I loved about playing in Rohit Shetty's cop universe, firstly, who doesn't want to be a part of Rohit Shetty's cop universe? Who wants to miss a chance in walking in high speed, a crisp uniform and all of that? That every guy's fantasy, I guess.
True.
Girls too now. And the second thing, seriously though, I felt Vikram Bakshi as a character was very interesting. I think OTT allows you to go into layers with a character. You get more of a length in time. Last time we spoke for Inside Edge.
Absolutely.
And I said the same thing, that in 10 episodes, in 7 episodes, you're spreading a character and you're doing your graph and you're performing it. It's a different level of applying your craft. And I think you enjoy that as an actor a lot. In here, what I loved was, when we look at the uniform, we look at police, we look at them as an organization. We forget that behind the khaki, there's human beings. Oh, yeah. There's people, there's actual people. Unless you're sitting and spending time with them and interacting with them, and most people want to stay away. They want to avoid dealing with cops. I think for me, it was a beautiful experience because Vikram Bakshi kind of epitomizes that. The human, the guy who's a team leader, who has to work within a regulatory framework, has his own frustrations, but is still that guy who's got that righteous indignation. He's got that sense of family at the same time. For his seniors are like ghar ke bade, his juniors are like younger members of his family. And he's the kind of guy who'd come in between a bullet and any one of his boys at any point in time. He's the guy who'd take a bullet on his chest for his team. That's what I loved about this character.
And also Rohit Shetty is worse, It's like there's a little kid's fantasy, especially boys, flying cars and their guns blazing. Yeah. What is it like? Because there's somewhere I feel there's a little boy in him.
For sure.
Who's just trying to manifest it into his cinematic verse.
In all of us, my son, Vivan, who's 10, the first time he insisted, he was like, I don't know how you're going to swing it, but you have to tell mom to allow me. I want to come on Rohit Shetty's set. So he's a big fan of Rohit Shetty cop universe. So he came on set, and luckily it was a day where his dad was doing the action and all of that. So he was like, wow, how do you do that? And he was like, Rohit was so nice to him. He sat him down next to him. Rohit has a great connect with kids, by the way. And then he put the headphones on for him to hear the whole action, the dialogue, and he saw me physically fighting. He was a little concerned. Are you hurt? I was like, no. He says, that looked really cool.
And I think that's the best thing for a dad, to get that thumbs up from his son.
I mean, he's pre-teen right now, so it's okay. I think by the time it's teens, parents do everything wrong.
Absolutely.
Right?
And then he wouldn't want to talk to you. You've done the same with your parents too, I'm sure.
And then it's funny, you come a full circle. The kind of level of admiration I have for my father now, when I was doing Vikram Bakshi's role, it took me back to the time when I was in my teens, maybe even younger, when I watched Tezab in Chandan Theatre in Juhu with, packed audience, the Ek Do Teen song, all of that. And then I saw my dad's sequence where he's the good cop in an age and an era where all cops were either lazy, late, inefficient, or simply corrupt, right?
And pot-bellied.
Yeah, and here he was, this guy who, protects this man because he sees the man beyond the criminal. I remember that sequence where dad pulls out the belt and beats up the corrupt officer with the police belt in a bar. There were CTs, man. My ears were ringing with the CTs. As a kid, it was such an impressionable moment, and I felt such a sense of pride. That's my dad, So I'm hoping that when Vivan sees this, he'd be like, that's my dad.
You know, it's so interesting. You also come from the era of superstars, you know, when the stars were larger than life. They
Sure.
were inaccessible. You just imagine what they would be doing. But now, you know, everything that's happening,
Sure.
from the bathroom selfies to the airport look. And also, you came at a time when, you know, that whole anticipation, the next big thing. What is it like? Does it weigh you down? Now, when you look at it in retrospect, what do you feel, you know?
The only thing that I could sum up in 21 years of my career, and I feel that you can sum up in any career or any life, is you realize that 99.9% of the things that you worried about back then were just not worth worrying about. You can either not change them or they were too insignificant.
Yeah.
Either of the two. And you realize that it is true when they say, you know, it sounds like such a cliche, life is about moving forward. You can't drive, you know, on a road going forward looking in the rearview mirror of a car. You have to look forward. You have to leave success behind as a milestone. You have to leave failure behind as a milestone. And all you have left is memories. When I meet people and I meet fans who've met me 20 years ago. You mention every single time my first time in your office.
Yeah, when all the girls just wanted to have a look at the company car.
And
cool dude.
The thing is that that's what you're left behind with. That's your legacy. Those memories, those moments that you shared between you and an audience in this dark room we call a theater, and the magic that happens within that.
Yeah.
That's that moment, how you impacted people. And it's funny how you'll see, I met somebody who's a 70-year-old lady, and she wanted a selfie right here in this hotel yesterday when I arrived. And I was giving her a selfie, and then she said, you know, my favorite film. And I was thinking, okay, she's probably going to say Yuva, Satya. I was thinking in that frame. She was like, I loved you as a gangster in Shoot Out at Lokhandwala. Now, that's something I would never imagine. So you never know what people leave with as an impact.
Absolutely. But also it's interesting. Your journey has been one of reinvention. You know, it's like when you are told, ab nahi, and like, wait till I come back. And I'll come back on my own terms. But in this industry, it takes a lot of strength. Yeah? I mean, also like kind of owning this streaming space and the kind of roles you're getting to do as well as cinema.
But I think there's two things. One is you have to constantly look to being a disruptor, right? And we spoke about this earlier. When OTT first came out, all the Shubh Chintaks, the well-wishers, were like, what are you doing? What does OTT even stand for? And this is worse than TV. Why are you doing it? You're a mainstream star. Why are you going onto this tiny platform? Who's going to watch your content on phones? You know, it's like YouTube videos. What is this?
Yeah.
So I heard so many things. But I just knew. I knew that, you know, this is the medium of the future. The OTT is going to connect with the youth. And it's strange how all the young fans I have, most of them have never seen my body of work from 20 years ago. For them, it's Vikrant Dhawan. You know, it's that connection with Inside Edge and Amazon Prime Video. So it's interesting how you have to constantly keep disrupting and innovating and reinventing yourself as an actor also, so you don't stagnate, but also experimenting with mediums. That's why I was so excited when Rohit said, I'm going to do an OTT show and I'm going to reinvent my grammar of filmmaking.
Yeah.
So it was exciting to be a part of that whole process and journey, you know. And I think as far as the never say die spirit is that there's two things to it. One is you can't be insecure in life. You have to know your own value. If you're constantly looking for others to affirm your value, you're going to be constantly chasing others and their opinions. You know, you have to just know your own value. You have to know.
Easier said than done.
Yeah, but it is. But that's the focus. I mean, I try to reach out through mediums like yours to people who are watching this to say, know your own value.
Yeah.
Respect yourself. Start with that, saying that this is what I've achieved. Look back, sit down and say, what have I achieved in my life? Don't think of what you haven't achieved.
Yeah.
And you'll respect yourself in a whole different way. And the second thing I feel is that, you know, I do this in my life. I create two value buckets. 95% of value in my life, opinions, emotions, feelings, goes to 5% of the people that matter most. People who've stood by me, my friends, my family, people who love me for who I am, who I'm not a commodity, not a short-term relationship with. And 5% of value goes to 95%. What happens is it dilutes all the kachra out. It filters all the kachra out. You know, people are just saying stuff, don't know you, don't know, randomly just saying nonsense that, you know, you don't have the time for. And when you put only 5% of value to that, it filters it and it focuses your relationships with people who matter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, coming to the cop verse, your favorite police wala dialogue. तो हमेशा बोलने का मन करता था.
I think there have been so many, right? From Bachchan Saab's dialogue in Zanjeer, ये कुर्सी तुम्हारे बाप की नहीं है, you know.
Yes.
Those kind of, the way he said "bap," you know, the way he said that with that punch in it, you know. From there to my own dialogue in which I play as Vikram Bakshi, which is also the beginning of the trailer which you watch, and
Yeah.
it's such a key moment in the show. It's strange when you're acting to feel an emotion so much that you get goosebumps. And that doesn't happen very often.
Absolutely.
You know, you want others to get goosebumps, but you take the journey almost yourself. For when Vikram Bakshi addresses the Delhi police, when he talks to his boys, you know, when they've been attacked, they're wounded, how he's inspiring them. Oh my God, I felt that moment was such an inspirational speech, and I was so happy to have done that.
Awesome. And OG police wala of all time.
OG police of all time. I think my dad in Tezab, Kal Chakra, he was two amazing cop roles that he did. Bachchan Saab in Zanjeer for sure. And the OG of the cop universe, of course, Singham, Ajay Devgan. One of my favorite people and one of my favorite actors.
Absolutely. तो हम आपसे अभी वो चश्मा पहनना पड़ रहा है. थोड़ा सा एक छोटा सा क्विज है. ये कौन सी फिल्म का डायलॉग है? झक मारती है पुलिस, उतार कर फेंक दो ये वर्दी और पहन लो बलवंत राय के पट्टा अपने गले में.
Oh, yeah, that's Sunny Deol in Ghayal.
Oh my God. हम हिंदुस्तानी पुलिस वाले जहन्नम तक उस शख्स को पीछा नहीं
शख्स
छोड़ते.
को?
या सॉरी का पीछा नहीं छोड़ते जो इस वर्दी की बेइज्जती करता है.
Oh, I don't know what this is, but it's possibly Sarfarosh.
दिल वाले सुनील शेट्टी. ये आपकी
okay,
पोस्टर को
okay.
उनका भी हो गया था. When I did police coming, Budia going jail, in jail, Budia Chakki, piecing and piecing and piecing.
Sholay, no?
Yeah.
Chakki,
Okay.
piecing.
मुझे तो सब पुलिस वालों की सूरतें एक जैसी लगती हैं.
No, I don't know what this dialogue is from, but it's something that I think all of us should think about, because we also look at all police walas the same way. We think it's just cops.
That
so
anyway
human.
was Sholay and Mr. Bachchan.
There you go.
So interesting. Also, this is a time where, you know, theatre and streaming is just like, I think I shouldn't be saying that, but I actually prefer watching content, you know, in the minds of my home. What do you actually make of this trend?
Well, I think it's two different experiences, and what I love about it is the coexistence is now coming into a synergy. See, what's happening is when video came, the VHS,
Yeah.
everybody said theatre band ho jayenge, khatam ho jayega sab. But it ran along side by side. Same thing happened when DVDs came, etc. Ab to resolution itna acha hai, theatre se parde se acha hai, now theatres are done. Theatre is not a medium but an experience.
Yeah, that's more for the larger than life.
And I think OTT is the same. And what I love about OTT is the discoverability. So when Indian Police Force comes out, Amazon Prime Video is promoting it really well. Maybe there's a smaller show or smaller piece of content that doesn't have that kind of promotional budget.
Yeah.
But when you go to discover Indian Police Force and you see the stuff out there, you're like, oh, here's a film from Karnataka that I'd like to take a look at. And you discover that content. What that does is also create a whole new feed of talent. You know, nobody knew Rishabh Shetty before Kantara, but now everybody knows who he is. And now they're expecting something big from him. Same thing happened with Yash, with KGF. So cinema, OTT, both are working towards a similar goal. And I think there's a nice synergy that's coming in. And you'll see a lot more synergy in the future. I feel that OTT is going to become a feeder for new talent.
Absolutely. And it's also interesting to see how actors from across industries are now working in each other's. And though it's given the term pan-India, it's no longer South ka actor and North ka actor. They're just actors playing parts.
I think so. I think in 2016 or 17, I just had this tuk. I said, yaar, mujhe har southern bhasha mein ek film karni hai. And I just made a few calls and I said, listen, I'm open. Because until now I was saying no. And I got 4 films. Each one of them became a big success story. Lucifer, especially with Mohanlal, was an amazing journey where he said, you have to do your first Malayalam film with me. You did your first Hindi film with me in company. Now your first Mallu film has to be with me. And we did it. It was biggest, I think till date, it's the biggest hit and critically acclaimed Malayalam movie of all time right now.
Absolutely.
So it was great to even do that and then not only receive that love, but critical acclaim from their critics, the awards. And the cutest part of it is that, you find Mallus in every corner of the world. So wherever I'm walking and I hear somebody say, Bobby, I turn around and I know it's a Mallu standing and smiling at me and says, Sugam ano? And they go, Sugam, 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 Sugam.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Such a pleasure speaking to you. And
Always
I want
a
to ask
pleasure.
you about one book that you feel is your all-time favorite or could have changed your life.
Ooh, I think if I say it could have changed my life, is Ayn Rand, Fountainhead.
Awesome.
Howard
one
Rock, what a character.
Absolutely. And one last question. They say there cannot be a superstar after Mr. Shah Rukh Khan. What do you think defined his superstardom?
I think the superstar was something out of your reach. Superstar was something that was out there, shining brightly in the sky. You could only dream, you could, imagine, but you couldn't reach. I don't think it's the fame quantums become lesser. Fame is multiplied exponentially. More people are consuming content globally. The fame, knowing someone, awareness has grown tremendously. But with that has grown access.
Yeah.
So you're constantly seeing them, you're constantly experiencing them. I think if SRK was to debut in 2024, the larger-than-life aura of SRK that we've grown up with, that we've looked up to as our star, that we couldn't reach out to, and my fan moment in Satya when he did that 3-day shoot with me, and I had to go out there and tell him off in a scene and emotionally butt heads with him. Those experiences of looking like that at them or Mr. Bachchan, I think those will be lesser and lesser because now it's some more intimacy. You know everything about them. It's not that you waited once in a month for an edition of a film glossy to come and it had 3 pages dedicated to somebody and whatever was in that interview and article. It's constantly feeding content from all over the world. So I think superstardom for that reason is dead.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember Star Style Stardust, you waited once a month for us, but
Absolutely.
such a pleasure speaking to you. Those were the good old days. But these are the good days too also, if you keep giving us content like that. All the very best. Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Likewise. Thank you.
If you've liked this interview, please like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram.